Welcome to this edition of Hopecast, the podcast for the Huntington City Mission. And I'm excited today because I have a good friend of mine with us here today from Facing Hunger Foodbank here in Huntington, just right down the street from us. My good friend, Cyndi Kirkhart. Cyndi, welcome. I'm glad that you're here today.
Mitchell, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
I tell you, now I tell everybody that will listen to this, what a great partner that Facing Hunger has been with the Huntington City Mission. And I will tell you, as we went through COVID, I don't know how we would have made it without your help. And I will forever be grateful for that, my friend. And it's just remarkable.
Well, I will tell you, Mitch, that was a time that required all of us to pivot in ways that we probably hadn't thought about.
That's right.
I like to say to our team, when we go through it, we grow through it. And I think that the learnings through COVID help both of us and certainly in the work that we do in a lot of ways. So it was an honor to stand beside you in the work here. And clearly, I think everything we do together is stronger.
I think so, definitely. And I know I've seen in the past, especially on social media, and I know that people just don't understand how things work, but there have been times when we have maybe talked about a particular need that we have or how many meals that we're serving. And I've heard people say, well, why doesn't the food bank help them? And I just want to make sure everyone knows that is not the right question, that they help us tremendously. And as I said before, we'll forever be grateful for that. So, Cyndi, tell me about a little bit about your background. What were the steps that took you to running Facing Hunger?
Well, I will tell you that probably the first thing and the core part of my life that led me to the helping professions, but certainly it makes the food bank feel like home, is that for the early part of my life, my mother and father divorced, and my mom was a single parent for a while. And back then, there weren't food pantries or the food bank,
right?
But the church.
Yeah.
So we had neighbors that would, if they saw or heard that there was need, there'd be a knock at your door. And before you got to the door, there was a box of food. My mom always worked. She worked from the time she was 17 till when she was 81. So that wasn't an issue, but it was a very difficult time.
Yes, that's right. Did you have siblings?
I did not. I did not until I was 20.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom and my stepfather had my sister. So my mom is the only woman I know that raised two only children because of the age difference. I was blessed, as we would hope all children are, to have been celebrated by my grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As just the most special thing ever.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
And when a child is given that kind of support, I think that helps you overcome a lot of other challenges. My stepfather was an alcoholic, and there were very difficult days in our home. And then there was the kindness of teachers.
Yeah.
Who may have seen me struggle or just, good souls. And so I pretty quickly determined I wanted to be in the helping professions. Had designs to be a psychologist and, got my bachelor's in psychology and then kind of entered the master's realm doing the same thing. My first job in Huntington, daughter of Marshall, was at Branches as a shelter worker.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good. I didn't know that.
Then I went and, lived in the woods with psychiatrically challenged teenagers who were actually more behavioral than anything. And, long story short, the path returned here.
Yeah.
And when the food bank position came open, it became clear to me that I was just going full circle. The most basic needs, but I've been working with people in need all of my life. So I landed, and I think everything, as I'm sure you would feel, everything that you did before prepares you for
absolutely
this place, right?
And I know that not everyone has the same spiritual views, but I look back at my life and I can see, just as you said, that everything really was just maybe not a stepping stone, but it was more like breadcrumbs. You followed the breadcrumbs and you got where you were supposed to be.
Yes.
That's so true. I tell people I was 55 years old before I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, I could say that same thing, because it was about that time that, I landed at the food bank.
Yeah. Right. It was me, 55 years old and changing. I've been a state elected for 35 years and changed careers.
Yeah.
So a little bit scary, but no regrets at all. And I would hate to think that I would not have done that and played it safe and missed out.
That's right.
Yeah. So you said you got your degree was in psychology, did you say?
Yeah.
So.
And then I got my MBA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I got a master's in psych. But what they don't teach you is you really got to know about business. Yeah. Right? So you want to be a therapist, you want to be this, you got to understand business. So there was a reason I didn't go to business school when I could have, right?
Right.
So that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough. Econ and accounting and a later stage. But I will tell you, I'm sure you feel the same way about things. Sometimes when you're older, the appreciation for the work put in and what you're able to accomplish in spite of being out of school for how many years, keeps you young.
Yeah, it's so wild.
or keeps that fighting spirit going. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I'm always interested in what you have to say about the local state of things from a food insecurities perspective. I just have a feeling that the majority of Americans really, and probably people in our area, have no idea how serious that need really is. And I was wondering if you would just talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Nationwide, the average is 1 in 6 adults are food insecure and 1 in 5 children. Okay. So around here, that's probably, if you consider the whole state, those statistics would probably ring true. But where the food bank is located in our service area, our food insecurity rate for children is actually 1 in 4. Okay. And then the 1 in 5 for adults. I think that people believe that the Huntington area doesn't have all of the challenges that it does, or they might relegate whatever challenges to, it's the unsheltered population. It's this.
Yeah.
Huntington has a very high poverty rate.
Yes.
That's not what brings those numbers, so high. A lot of the counties that the food bank serves, Mingo County is one of them, 30% food insecurity rate overall, about 32% for children. So in the good old days, Mitch, we were looking at serving 130,000 souls.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, increasingly, people are that one paycheck away.
That's right.
From problems.
Right.
That can't recover. Then we have a really high inflation rate. We have really high food prices, fuel, gas, electric utilities. Everything's very high. So people who once didn't have to worry about being food secure, they were good, suddenly are slipping.
Yeah.
So the variability of the food insecurity rate, I think, has increased exponentially since you and I came to know each other, 10 years ago.
That's right. We've certainly, like you say, we've seen in here, our meals served have almost tripled, and 2/3 of those meals that we serve are not for people who live here, but they're for people in the community. Many of them are the working poor.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, especially with the government shutdown and when SNAP benefits went away, people who called, well, they needed food, but they needed a meal. And we said, the mission will serve.
Yes.
You can go and have a meal there. I saw your social media post where people are going, well, I can't go to the mission because I don't live there. And you opened the door.
Right.
So it's an incredible thing that we're seeing now with what hunger looks like versus the assumption of what it looks like, that it's some failing, right?
Right.
You said it, working poor. 89% of the people we serve are underemployed.
Yes.
Okay. Families with children, seniors, veterans.
Yes.
Okay. Or unemployed. And a lot of that through no fault of their own.
Right. I think that so the thing about what you just said, you said children, seniors, veterans. And, you would think in America that neither one of those groups would have to worry about whether or not they had enough to eat.
That's right.
And the days where you could just drive by, roll down the window, and get a job, I don't know if that ever was effective, but it's certainly not now.
No. We've asked so much the people who serve our country.
Yes.
I will never forget, I was in Boone County, and I was pulling up to get on the corridor, and there was a veteran standing there, and he had his identification to verify it. And he came running over, and he's waving his ID at me to confirm that he was a veteran, and he just needed something. Okay. And we can do better than that. A lot of our seniors are people who did everything right. They worked at a time when there were pensions and when there were retirements. I mean, good luck finding those now. But no one planned on, and I'll never forget, someone kind of approached me and said, well, they should have planned better. And I said, well, how would they have planned for the company they work for, say a coal company, going bankrupt and defunding their retirement and health care benefits? And that person said, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Did they plan to raise their grandchildren and great-grandchildren because of the opioid epidemic? There are 100 different stories, and we see them a lot just like you do here. We don't know all the things that people went through to get where they are.
That's right. It's very easy to be judgmental, but it's another thing altogether when you start to hear the stories and you find out what people are actually going through.
That's right.
Yeah. So where do you think the biggest threats are right now to this problem increasing?
I will tell you, I think one of the greater threats right now is that people have very recently been introduced to a level of uncertainty that they hadn't experienced before. And that is, we had a government shutdown, which we've had before, but we had never had SNAP benefits stopped. So I think people had some confidence that that part of the safety net would continue. And it's like anything, once it happens one time, it's introduced to you as something you always have to worry about.
That's right.
And I think that there are a lot of things going on now that create uncertainty for people, for me, and probably for you all. Funding, access, all these things, crazy weather.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the greater thing, that the core belief that they would have resources has been shaken.
That little 4-letter word, hope, once that gets dashed, then the whole atmosphere just changes.
Indeed. And Mitch, you and I have talked about that sometimes the easiest thing to do is to talk to people.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Right.
And I know that your team here, that you have supported and continue to in a lot of different ways. My team takes such comfort out of the work.
Yeah, that's right.
That they're helping.
Mm-hmm.
But then suddenly there is now an increasing need for people to feel better. So they're asking questions. What is there for me? Is there help for me? So even though we don't pay them as therapists, they become therapists.
That's the truth.
They're safe people to talk to. And you have hired a lot of people that were lived experience. I do too. And the threat of traumatizing them by them having shared a lived experience with those we serve, that's a lot.
Yeah, sure does.
So not only are, the people we serve uncertain, we've introduced more uncertainty to our team members.
Right. Right. I think that is the key word, is uncertainty. We just, we just don't know. But let me ask you this question along that line. You personally, are you hopeful about the future?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Mitch, both of us have worked closely with Mission Tri-State.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a preacher. I am a fallible child of God. But I put my yes on the table a long time ago because I needed to do that.
Yeah.
And so I just wait for God's questions.
Yeah.
And that, you have to be eternally hopeful with that.
Right.
And I will also tell you that if I'm not hearing God talk, I better shut up myself.
That's right.
And so in dark moments, which we have, I remind myself that me, my team, this community, the communities we serve, have managed to survive 100% of the things. So, okay, I may not know the path forward.
Right.
But all right, here we go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the great things about our area. We hear a lot of complaints, and I know there are a lot of things that we could do different and do better. But when the rubber meets the road, we tend to, the Appalachian comes out in us, and we tend to take care of each other. And it's a shame sometimes that it takes that before we do it, but we do tend to do it. And I like what you said there too. And again, I didn't intend to get preachy on this discussion here, but if I didn't have a faith in a sovereign God, then I don't know if I would even want to do this work, because it's hard for me to see any hope apart from that. When you see, there's all sorts of people doing really good things, but when you start to see how fragile that is and how quickly that can change. So if there's not a more steady, firm, stronger hand than mine at the helm, we're in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. So
right. And I know myself.
So what's coming up for Facing Hunger? Are there any new things coming up, or any Because even through, I think you and I are similar in this, even when things are challenging, maybe especially when things are challenging, you don't tend to sit still. You tend to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can't hit a moving target.
So what's coming up for facing hunger?
Well, I tell you, you and I have talked a lot about we can do more together than we can separate. And number one, clearly, is to get the building at 1329 functioning as an on-site food pantry, okay, that will help us be able to distribute through our programs, the medically indicated food box program, the CSFP, the senior program, that people can come and get those food resources whenever they want versus us, showing up at First Presbyterian. They miss that. That's a problem.
Sure.
So I want to do that. We need the doubled, warehouse space. I really feel, and I have such respect for every recovery program and people in recovery. I think we can do more with our team members. I'm very committed to second and fair chance employment at the food bank. I'm finding that there's still work to be done in recovery that isn't accomplished in a program.
That's right.
Okay. Right. There's the trauma, there's grief.
Yes.
I have invited that work into the food bank. That has been a blessing, but then it has been a heartbreak.
It sure has.
We have lost team members. I signed up for that. I didn't think about the impact on the rest of the team. So I have introduced trauma and heartbreak to them. So I think that there is more programming that can be done. I would really like to have an on-site chaplain that can be engaged in that team and that we're doing those touches. We're really focusing right now on social determinants of health of our team members. One of the team members we lost and just kind of did the anniversary of that passing had been living in a camper and it caught on fire and he died. And, I can't own that.
Yeah.
But had I known, maybe we could have done something to help him secure better housing. So I'm taking a real serious look at that so that we all understand where we are together. And then maybe I can, we'll do financial planning, we'll, help educational gaps by, Excel training, computer training. So that's there. I'm still committed to Mingo County.
Mm-hmm. Where I was born, by the way.
Well, talk about Appalachian.
Yeah.
There's good people. 76% of the grandparents in Mingo County are grand families. So we really want to figure out a way for all of the recovery programs and efforts down there that there's employment opportunities. So we still look to have a warehouse down there, do workforce development. And, Mitch, I buy a lot of produce. And through LFPA with the department bag, we helped make whole a lot of farmers.
Mm-hmm.
LFPA goes away, then farmers are struggling. So keeping those partnerships and figuring out, may not be a lot of acreage down in Mingo.
Right. Not much flight ground.
But hydroponics and aquaponics and, right. And what can we do that way? So those are the big ones. And, I'm watching you in your retirement and taking notes. I don't want to work until I'm 81, like my mom did. And I think that there are other things. And I think that at some point it's time for fresh eyes in a place. So those will keep me busy for a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
And then we'll see what else the future holds.
You mentioned two things a while ago. The boxes, medically something.
Medically indicated food boxes. Yeah.
And then there was another thing. I think it started with a C.
CSFP.
Would you explain those two things?
Sure. So I'll start with CSFP. That is the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, which is a program through USDA that is for seniors 60 and above.
Oh, great.
So as with everything with USDA, it's income-based. There are, income guidelines. But qualifying seniors, let's say it's a couple, if they both, meet the program requirements, they would both get a food box. So it's about 40 pounds of food that includes grains and fruits and vegetables and a chunk of cheese, from...
Is it a one-shot deal or is it a monthly?
Once a month, yeah, until they decide that they don't want it or, they move into maybe an assisted living facility or something like that. An incredible program. And they can still benefit from other emergency food resources. So they can go to their pantry and get other food in addition to that. Medically indicated food box is a program we've been running since 2017, basically to help people self-manage chronic disease. West Virginia is a state that is number one on all the bad lists. High diabetes, high health, heart disease, cancer, obesity, all those things. So these food boxes are basically to support no salt, no sugar, pretty clean foods, lean proteins. And what we're seeing, and we've been in partnership with Marshall Health for a long time, Valley Health, Southern West Virginia Health Services, we just continue to expand, is people don't require the same level of medications. They are losing weight because they're eating better. Blood pressures are going down. And it's because of the availability and the nutritional value of that food.
Well, let me ask you, is that a national program or is that a Cyndi Kirkhart design?
I wish it was. But no, but there is movement across this country for food as medicine kind of initiatives. And I think right now, and we're so lucky, former State Senator Mike Stewart is now General Counsel at Health and Human Services with RFK Jr., who was a big proponent of West Virginia made and produced food, okay? Governor Morrissey and his wife, the First Lady, both very interested in making America healthy again. So similar to me being a redhead when redheads weren't cool, we were doing this work. And now, the momentum is such that we're actually partnered with several entities in the state, but really kind of regionally for us, to find a way to make that programming statewide and catch up with the rest of the country.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are there other programs that you guys do that probably the average person doesn't know about?
Well, clearly, we do the backpack program, about 4,000 kids a week. During the summer, we do a community-supported agriculture program for our seniors that isn't a voucher-driven thing. We just take the food out, I love that some of these seniors take the seeds out of everything, dry them, and then they plant them later on, So that's always a lot of fun. Other than that, we do mobile pantries.
Yeah.
During this shutdown, Mitch, typically every week it's 250 households at every distribution. We increased by 70%, and we're serving like 900 households.
My goodness. The backpack program, is that distributed through schools?
It is. Now, we do have some partner agencies who get their food from us, and then they distribute to the schools. But a lot of ours is actually taking food directly to the schools, either by case, and then volunteers at the school aggregate it, or we bag it up and then they distribute the bags.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any statistics? I wonder how many pounds of food come through your place in a month?
Generally, when things are kind of level, about 1 million pounds.
Nice.
Yeah. During the shutdown, it was 2 million pounds a month. Yeah.
Where did you get the resources to do that?
Well, full credit to Governor Morrissey for right away understanding that, the food banks, 2 food banks in the state, who have long been soldiers, we will back your play, whatever, in the charitable food system. When those SNAP benefits went away, when the shutdown occurred, we have a lot of Coast Guard around here.
Oh, really?
And in our service area, we have 2 federal prisons. So the prisons were running, people were working, but they weren't being paid.
Wow.
Coast Guard's one of the first ones to lose their checks. And then you have government contractors, right, who they stopped being paid. So the governor right away started hearing, what are we going to do? And to his credit, he showed up with money. And we saw it coming. And I started ordering food, and it was like a look and a promise how I'm going to pay for everything. But because no one budgeted for that, and I certainly didn't have it on my bingo card, but without the governor and the state funding, I don't know how we would have made it.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And we seldom hear positive things like that about our political leaders, and that's really encouraging to hear that there is some.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've asked you about everything I wanted to ask you. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. I want to talk about what's surprising to
Oh, yes.
Okay. Sometimes I think here, I'll speak for here, but I see it in other places. We may serve different populations by the nature of the name of our business, right? But we're serving the same people. You and I come together, we provide you food, you feed people, okay? We get food, we provide it to our pantries, the pantries distribute the food, they feed people. Backpack programs feed, But isn't it interesting that the donors and the people who support us, they're supporting us, but sometimes then it breaks down that we're talking about different people. Okay? I know you've seen it. I've heard it. I've kind of lived it. Okay, well, people want to feed children.
Yeah.
Okay. And we value children.
And we should.
Well, I got to tell you, Mitch, every child grows up, God willing, to be an adult. And I am struck by sometimes how the value of life is for X amount of time, and then because of an affliction, a disease, trying to overcome trauma and grief and decisions that people make, somehow their life is less than.
That's right.
And so I'm kind of thoughtful right now, having reached this milestone age that I have been. We're all talking about the same people.
That's true.
And if you readily attend church and you read your Bible, the least of these.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I haven't found a Bible yet that outlines, and by the least of these, they have to meet these boxes. So check, check, check. Okay. So I know there are so many wonderful people in this community who support the mission, who support the food bank, who support so many initiatives. And I'm struck by the things that divide us.
Yeah.
Because what I know, and we did it last year, we'll continue to do it, is when we did the Earth Day cleanup.
Yes, right.
We came right down here.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm looking in the eyes of people who utilize your services.
Right. Yeah. Each one of them created in the image of God, by the way.
That's right. That's right. And if you believe that you have a purpose on this earth and that God doesn't make mistakes, that gift, that purpose still exists. And wouldn't it be great if we could find a way to remember the value of life at conception and at birth and at age 6 and at age 15?
Right.
It never ends.
That's true.
And I think that the more we do to humanize and remind people of their humanity, the less likely we are to create really great animals.
Yeah. That's really good. I like that. I quickly learned when I came to the mission that there are a lot of people that I've referred to as disposable people. You know, I hadn't been here a couple of weeks, and an older woman who was unable to take care of herself, covered in her own feces, was brought here and just dumped out. Recently, we had a special needs couple from another state that someone loaded into a car, brought them here, didn't see if we have room, drove out in front of our dining hall and dumped them out. Said, "I love you," kissed them on the cheek, and was done with them, like you would throw away a Kleenex or a pop can over a bridge so that you didn't have to have that in your car anymore. And I just have seen it over and over and over and over. And then not just that, but the way that our folks are viewed, you know, as you say, as though they have no value at all. And that makes me angry, and it also is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
I will tell you something. 40% of my workforce is second chance.
Mm.
Okay. So sometimes I work angles. Those guys, when they're in their programs, they come and volunteer for us.
Mm-hmm.
I get to see them.
You cherry pick.
You do.
Mm.
You do. And what I know is I'm still one of just a few businesses that will hire someone with a felony. Okay. So they've committed to making their lives better.
Mm.
But if you can't get work,
right,
and you have kids to provide for, and we're expecting them to do those things,
you're eventually going to go back to old ways.
That's right. Everyone knows how to make money. Okay. But they have to have a start.
Mm.
And what I see and what I've heard many times, and I don't take credit for it, is when they say, "You gave me the life I have right now." I didn't. You did. You did it.
That's right.
So I see those miracles and those transformations every day. I know you have seen those. And I don't think we're asking people to do more than we do, which is invest. Invest in time.
Yeah.
You know.
And we think that if we do that, then we can't have accountability. That's the exact opposite.
That's right.
You have to have accountability. But I find that people who are in the path to do well, they're going to respond well to that.
That's right.
Yeah, they crave that. I had an instance with an employee that everyone dearly loved, not long after I came here, who relapsed. It was my first experience with that. And so I did everything I could to keep him. And so we did. And then just a little while later, he did it again. And then we finally had to let him go. Well, a year or so later, one of our other guys who was in recovery, who I'd gotten to know really well, and when he was comfortable with me, his exact words were, "It pissed me off when you didn't fire him." What? He said, because that let me know that I could do that too. So you have accountability. You have, structure, but they become some of the best employees you have. We have roughly 50 employees here right now, and 75% of ours are people in long-term recovery, and quite a few with prison records.
Yeah.
Quite a few felons, but some of them are the best folks we've got.
That's right.
So, but they gotta have a start.
They got to have a start. And to your point, the accountability, it's no different for them than it is anyone else.
That's exactly right.
So we're clear about that. I say to them, whatever happened back here is back here. Our experience is the future.
Yeah, that's good.
And you decide how it's going to be. I know everything. We're done with that.
Yeah. That's called a fresh start.
That's called a fresh start.
How many of us have benefited from having that in our life?
Many times.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Many times.
Well, let's see what else we're going to talk about.
I'm going to talk about the art of the pivot.
Okay.
Okay?
I like that.
I think that in the helping professions, or when you're in that pulpit in the old country church.
Yeah.
I think, we've referenced the pandemic earlier, and we learned how to pivot a lot more, right?
Truth.
And I think that there's a changing landscape about how we all do our work.
Mm-hmm.
The original mission, the mission, is very different than those you see today. Okay? And look at, what has happened here. You've incorporated all levels of human care, right? Yep. The same with us. When I showed up at the food bank, clearly we had a huge black eye. Had to reestablish ourselves, regain the public trust. Look, at that time we had so much bakery and stuff. We were a diabetes factory.
Wow.
And if you want people to do better, to feel better, you got to feed them better. So, it isn't mission creep to assess the world around you, the needs of those you serve, and go, how can we do X, or how can we partner and do Y? And I think that maybe the public doesn't always know how often we pivot and how much we do. And to your point about the accountability, yeah, we do hire people, second and fair chance, but there is accountability. Okay, so can we talk about our successes and how we do those things? And they're not exclusive. Fair chance doesn't mean, free pass.
Right.
It means working together.
That's right. Yeah.
Like we do for everything else. I think sometimes I must say this, and you'll chuckle when I say it. Out here on Nonprofit Avenue, I think we don't always do the best job of talking about the man behind the curtain and all the things that go into doing this work. That, there is accountability. We do have rules. We're not part of the problem. We are pivoting to meet the needs of the entire community. And, oh my gosh, we're fresh and creative, and right out here, right? A respite facility because it was needed. No one else had done it. So I would encourage the community to really lean into learning as much as you can about all the services in the area because there's a lot more value than you would have thought. And then you find that place where we're more alike than we're different.
That's right.
And then collectively, everyone can do something, but all of us can do big things.
Yeah.
So
I think of that quote from Mother Teresa, small things done with great love can change the world.
yes.
And you dig down deep enough, there's still a little Baptist boy in here somewhere, but I wholeheartedly agree with Mother Teresa on that. I just think that's the gospel truth.
Mitch, I'll wrap up. I got a couple of things that guide me that same way. We have a wonderful partnership with Little Caesars. Vicki Dunn, Marshall Dion,
They've been good to us too, by the way.
incredible, right? And right after I landed at the food bank, they pulled up with the Love Kitchen, right, where they produce all these pizzas. And hot and fresh for real. So they made, a ton of pizzas. And one of our pantries, we had our pantries show up and they had to come and pick them up and get them out. The public seems to think that everyone who is under-resourced wastes all their money on all kinds of things. Okay. So this one pantry picks up the pizzas, they go, and a little girl was there with her dad. And he had picked her up. And they're getting their pizza. And she said, "Oh, Daddy, you got us pizza."
Hmm.
And she was thrilled. And he looked at the woman at the pantry and said, "I didn't get this." And she said, "Don't you tell her how you got it. You're providing her with the pizza."
Like that.
That guy was lifted because he was able to provide for his child. Okay? Those things lift you to do other things.
Sure does.
You feel good with that. The whole family has a better evening. Okay, because you're eating and enjoying something you wouldn't have typically had.
A luxury.
Right? Then you build on that. And I think that we've tried all the other things, right? We try and law enforce our way, make people compliant. Well, if they get picked up by the cops, then they won't be on my dock or whatever. And I really try and avoid that because that's making things worse.
It is.
So what I'm hopeful for is that maybe people will consider all the really bad, hard, and mean things we've done. And maybe we look at a kindness.
Yeah. Be a nice thing to pivot to, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think we all have that opportunity right now. And I think that, it's worth a shot. And I think we all will feel better.
Here, close to Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, what is the quote that, I'm going to mess it up. And basically it's, I choose love.
Yeah.
And
hate is too great a burden to bear.
That's right. That's right.
Feels like a good note to wrap up on.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. I truly love you, my friend, and appreciate you.
Honor of a lifetime to share the work. So thank you.
Okay, folks, thanks for listening today.